Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Happy summer. I hope things are going smoothly for you. To those that have had crazy weather and different tragic situations going on, my heart goes out to you in prayers. Hope you guys are doing all right. I'm going to get right to the show. We've got a lot of cool things to cover today. First things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph, and you can find it on Spotify. You can also find it on my social media outlets. Please feel free to follow me. You can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube channels India White 123. TikTok is Dr. India White. Threads is, I believe, Dr. or Indy238, and Blue Sky. I'm also there. You can find me there as well. So I'm looking forward to mingling with all of you guys. And congrats to all of you that are doing so many amazing accomplishments. I love to see so many great things going on. And I would like to also invite you guys to check out my website at www.india-white.com for books, blogs, or to schedule me for your upcoming event. Or maybe, you want to do some professional development or something like that. Give me a email or a ring or whatever, and we will make it work. So thank you to those in advance. I am excited to also announce some upcoming trainings. Thank you to all of the LA folks that have invited me to come and do some work there. I'm super excited about this wonderful event. I think we'll have a great time. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I also have been asked to speak at NCSM and NCTM, Making Math Moments conferences, and more. I'll keep you guys posted. Please also make sure you're checking out the Grit Mini Workshop on the Grassroots Workshops website. Thank you to Robert and the team there for respecting the work that I do around grit, and giving the grit message a platform to grow among education. Also, here is a new launch of the Grit Academy. It's an online tutoring and learning opportunity for you. We are extending it as well this year, so send your kiddos my way, and I'd be honored to serve you as well as my team however we can. And with that said, I also wanted to make some announcements about reminding you, of course, of grit, looking at the grit sheets that I have on my website to help you with whatever resources you need, as well as a grit calendar and a little change of things. You guys know I love to write, and I write about anything. And so I'm super excited because I have a new book launch, and it's titled How to Find and Keep a Good Man. To you ladies that you're really wanting something serious, I really took time to look into this and to give you guys some nuggets that can help you along your journey. And thank you to those that have already ordered this. I think it's so funny because usually I'm about education and math, but this was burning inside of me. I need to talk to ladies about what they need to do if they're in a relationship, how to take it to the next level, how to get serious, and if you're wanting to stay single, you choose to stay single like myself, and you're choosing to stay single, what you can do in the meantime to work on yourself so that you can become a good mate for a good man. And so with that said, the books are out on Amazon. You can also order it on my website. Thank you to those that have already purchased it. If you're wanting to do some lady groups and some women's events, women's conferences, or you wanted me to do some studies with you, I'd be honored. I think it would be so much fun. And I can't wait to hear of the testimonials that'll come in. And also there are more books to come, and I'm not saying anything yet, but I'm super excited. So be on the lookout. So many great things going on here now. With that said, I do want to go right into what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about grit rebuttals. What do you mean, India? So, of course, not everybody is a fan of grit. Some people think you don't need grit. Some people think it's overrated and all this other stuff. And some people feel that you just can't give grit to certain type of students, right? They feel like certain things are just the way they are. And so, I've been talking with people in the community, and I'm hearing different things like these students are motivated, these students aren't necessarily motivated, and I feel stuck. Or I'm a parent and I feel stuck. Like there's like all this stuff. And so we're going to talk about some of these grit rebuttals, and we're going to even look at what some of the grit haters have said and see what are some different things that we can do to kind of like bridge an understanding what grit is and how to really help people to navigate what grit is. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about grit rebuttals. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to just share and show a couple little things. So first things first, this is MacArthur genius Angela Duckworth response to a new critique of grit. This was in 2016. I haven't really heard many critiques since. I think the only really critique was people that don't understand grit. And they'll say grit is putting people in insurmountable, stupid situations that they tell them to try harder. And it's absolutely doesn't make sense. They don't have enough of time. It's not realistic. For instance, if I tell you to write a 100-page paper, cited and resourced and vetted from, in 2 hours, without using really much of anything but, a couple of books and whatnot, I think that you're gonna struggle, not necessarily because you're not competent or because you don't have any comprehension, but because it's not fair the way it was allocated to you, if that makes sense. So we're going to talk about some of these rebuttals. There's the queen of grit right here, Angela Duckworth. So it says, grit has been on NPR several times, not to mention front and center of the national education agenda. They were talking about the crucial component of success is people's ability to pick a goal and stick with it. Okay, so that's what Dr. Angela Duckworth says. She's at University of Pennsylvania. And so she has earned a MacArthur Genius Grant, national acclaim, and this month a best-selling book. Whoop, whoop. All right, and so here it says, the study, Much Ado About Grit, a meta-analysis synthesis of grit literature. It will appear in the upcoming issue. Ooh, I like that. Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. Ooh, guys, this is cool. I know this was written a while ago, but for you dorks out there, listen, this is wonderful. Okay, and so she says, or Creed says, my overall assessment is that grit is far less important than has commonly been assumed and claimed, says this lead author, Marcus Creed. Okay, let's give it to him. Iowa State. So this is what he says. Now, the thing is this. My thing to people like Marcus is this. Thank you for critiquing grit. But on the other side of this token, what do you have as a remedy or a solution that can either support the work of grit or find something better or whatnot? You know what I mean? Like, my thing is, don't say something if you don't have a solution. Don't cancel out something that is working, even though it might not be perfect. If it's a trait and it works, you should just let it work, right? Don't fix it if it's not broken. But at the same time, if you are going to critique, then bring the sauce. What else do you have out here, right, that can compete with it? So let's look and see what they have to say. So his claims, he talks about the impact of grit is exaggerated, especially when looking at broader populations of people. Okay, so he's looking at a broader scale of people. And I want to say too here, when he's talking about broader populations, in particular, what are his points of reference? Like, what is he doing when he's coming up with his, different, like here it talks about number one, effect sizes, and, you have people portioned off in different groups and samples. Where is he coming from with this? So, and then it talks about how grit is nearly identical to consciousness. And then it talks about how it has been known to psychologists as a major dimension of personality. Okay. It's not necessarily open to change, especially in adults. See, this is where I disagree. I have to side with Duckworth. And I can tell you a perfect example. Have you seen the people lately that have been losing all types of weight, taking Ozempic or doing whatever they're doing, and they lose hundreds of pounds and they look totally different? That's grit. They're adults. Okay. Or the person that, the older person that decided to just get really ripped in the gym, and you're like, whoa, that's grit. So I am just a huge fan of grit, and I am persuaded that no matter what the situation is, if things are laid out fairly, so there's not injustices behind the scene, there's not discriminations and stupid stuff. If it's really a fair platform and you're really given resources and accommodations and supports that you need, then if you have grit, you should be able to succeed at whatever it is that you put your mind to. And I'm just going to leave that there. And I think we have so much evidence that points to that. So I really do have to disagree with this argument here. We're going to go back to the screen. Number one, she admits that her charge of badly describing her size of her outcomes. Okay, so maybe her outcomes weren't good on her grit scale. Okay, but there's all kinds of grit scales. I have a grit scale on my website as well. Okay, so here is this guy. So he says the cadets who scored a standard deviation, right? So all you data nerds, you understand this. They were 99% more likely to complete a summer training. Okay. But then she says, yes, that's a big win. He says that's a big win for grit. So then give her flowers, right? Give Duckworth her flowers. And then it says here, Creed points out that what in fact is that 95% of all of them make it through the beast barracks, while 98% of the very grittiest made it through. Okay, so 95% can make it. So basically what he's saying is she already pulled from a very successful, sample of students. And I understand that. But goodness, I mean, that was the grounds that she had to work with. So basically what he's saying is it's a technical point that maybe you need to pull from maybe a group of students that aren't as, privy to being successful in different environments like that one. So, all right, let's keep going. He says the relationship between grit and academic success is only modest. So overall correlation of 0.18. Okay. And then he says this compares much higher to a correlation of 0.5, right? Says SAT scores perform in college. Okay. So her own paper said that it's only slightly higher, 0.20. Okay. And then she said that she doesn't disagree with him either. She says that the findings of independent impact of grit or personality, psychologists would put it, are small to medium range. But my question is, does it work? Yes. Okay. Anyway, let's keep it moving. So he's saying some other things here. Okay, so let's keep going. He says, I think that as a parent, I would feel uncomfortable if my daughter came home and said, my school is changing. My school is changing my personality. So I think where he is going is he's saying when you're looking at grit, when it comes down to personality, he doesn't agree that you should try to mold someone into a gritty type of person if they're not, if their personality is one that maybe they're just more laid back. Where we're coming from, or where I'm coming from, as I think someone that can speak on the grounds of grit is not about your personality. It is a trait that you can pick up and put down whenever. Does that make sense? It can become a part of you, but it's a trait. There's a difference between having a state of being motivated and having a trait of knowing how to take that motivation and turn it into grit, a work ethic, where you have a gritty work ethic, if that makes sense. And the reason why it's so powerful is because you can pick grit up anytime and you can put it down anytime. And if it is embedded in you as a trait, then you'll never stop being gritty. You can always be gritty whenever you choose to be gritty. That is the powerful thing about it. And if you don't think I'm telling the truth, think of bodybuilders and people that have mastered a sport or an art or something, an instrument. Okay. You have enough grit. Like if I'm trying to lose weight and I'm trying to become a bodybuilder, guess what? I can do it. Why? Because the grit trait is there. So I could work out. I could eat healthy. I could do everything. Every one of us can do this, right? Unless you're like paralyzed or there's something that's, limiting. And that's what I said. The grounds have to be fair when you come on board. If there's some type of, situation that's not fair, or there's some type of injustice, like you're supposed to get this and they take that from you, or they take whatever, then no, you can't do what you need to do. You can't perform because you're dealing with injustices. That's not fair. That's a totally different issue, right? But what we're talking about is if you have everything, you have the resources, you have the accommodations, you have the supports in place, and you have the goal set up, then yes, you can, through grit, overcome and excel. And So if I'm a bodybuilder, right? I'm working out, I'm doing everything. I want to lose 30 pounds. Guess what? I can do it. But then guess what? I can eat a bunch of jelly donuts. I can go to Dunkin' Donuts. I can go to Starbucks. I can go to McDonald's, which Lord knows but anyway, so I could do all this stuff and put the weight back on, right? I could become like bigger than whatever. Okay. Do I have grit? Yeah. Where's my grit? I just put it down for the season because I just wanted to pig out. Okay. So then what if I have a moment and I say, you know what? I'm sick of this crap. I'm going to get back to, getting Stella has her groove back. I'm going to get my sexy back, do what I need to do. Then guess what? I'm going to get back in the gym. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to pick grit back up and I'm going to lose that weight again. And I'm going to get slim thin again. Okay. This is why people can lose 20 pounds, gain 30, lose 20, gain 30, lose 50, keep it off, because then they master that discipline and they choose to pick up grit every day so that they can meet that goal and even surpass it. This is how grit works. It's a trait. Okay. Just because I'm working out and I'm losing weight and I'm picking up a trait of grit doesn't mean I've changed as a person. It doesn't mean my personality has changed. I'm still India. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's what we need to see when we're dealing with grit and we're dealing with students and families and teachers. This is not something that's supposed to, first off, feel so insurmountable that you're about to blow a blood vessel trying to figure out how to make this work. So, for instance, in the classroom, if you're trying to take that same kind of idea of grit and you have students that, they're scoring level ones and you've got to get through all the curriculum. What you don't want to do is tell them, hey guys, read these 5 chapters and write a 10-page paper for me tomorrow. Be gritty. No, that's not fair. Okay. That's unrealistic and it's oppressive. It's abusive. That's not how grit works. And I don't sign off on that. I think that's ridiculous. Okay. But what you can do is say, hey guys, we have this chapter going on and I want you guys to take a stab at it. And then we're going to together walk through this the next day. And as they're going through productive struggle, as they're climbing through these different anxieties and, conceptual understanding, productive struggle, all this stuff, you help to build their skill set through grit. And then once they start conceptually understanding it, grit is going to take them all the way through to help them to persevere and to persist, to actually finish that assignment at a set amount of time, being a responsible student. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So with that said, that's what grit really is. It's not something that is you're trying to force upon somebody. It is a trait that you're building within a person. Everyone has it. Okay, remember that. Everyone has grit. We all have different levels of grit. Hear what else they have to say. So they're saying here, one of the ways that Duckworth and other researchers have tried to distinguish grit is a factor titled a consistency of effort. Yes. In other words, gritty people tend to have a singular passion that they pursue. That's it. Year in and year out, accumulating 10,000 hours of deliberate practice toward a point of utter mastery. That's what I'm saying. People that become bodybuilders, they have mastered the art of how to work out every part of their body right, how to eat right. It's kind of like that guy that's trying to I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a guy and he's talking about how he's trying to preserve life and age backwards. You should go check him out. And he is very gritty about this. And so he consumes his entire life with how can he save time and age. And, they measure different parts of his, of his body. His heart's I think like an 18-year-old and his I think his frame or whatever is like a 36-year-old, like all these different things that he's got going on. And it's because he's being very gritty with this. So I'm going to stop sharing that because I hope that you guys understand that grit is for you and it always has been. And it's there. It's not going anywhere. There's never a level 0 of grit. I have to repeat that. There's never a level 0 of grit. Okay. Your grit might be low level, but it's never at 0 unless you're you don't exist anymore. Because every day you wake up, you have to be gritty. You have to have grit. So keep that in mind. Now, I want to show you some other things that I've traps. And so it's talking about having fixed mindset and all this stuff. And so here's some actionable tips. I want to give them their flowers. Hold up. This was Ian Bailey posted this in March. And so it says here are 7 actionable tips to help you break free. So notice when you avoid challenges. I like that. The fixed mindset trap, it shows up as avoiding challenges. So an actionable tip, start small, take on low stakes challenges like volunteering for a project or learning a new skill. Also, a mistake to avoid procrastinating or waiting for the perfect moment. And sometimes you procrastinate because we're perfectionists and you don't want to make a mistake, but it's just good to just go ahead and start. So, and they have a stat here. It's all about the data, right? It says 85% of people who take on new challenges reported an increase in confidence. They have case studies, right? Then it says reframe failure as a learning opportunity for a growth mindset. So actionable tip, after setback, ask, what can I learn from this? And write down one actionable lesson. A mistake to avoid is blaming external factors instead of taking ownership. So don't play the victim. Yes, there are injustices. Yes, there are. But even in the face of injustices, you can still find a way to succeed or to shift your energies towards some other path where you can still be successful. And students can do the same. A case study here, Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb, right? And he said, I didn't fail. I like this. I found 1,000 ways that it didn't work. Oprah Winfrey, right? She was fired from her first job as a TV anchor, and then she used it to pivot a legendary media career, right? Everybody loves Oprah and what she's done. Replace I can't with I can learn. Ooh, I like that. We should write that on classroom boards everywhere in the nation. I can't with I can learn. So catch yourself from using limiting language and replacing it with growth-oriented phrases. For example, swap I'm bad at this to I'm improving. I do have some growth mindset statements like this. You can purchase them on my website, www.india-white.com. Next, avoid mistakes to avoid. I'm not a math person, right? We've talked about this. We've beat this thing over the horse or, over the head a million times in the math world. And it talks about a stat. People who use growth-oriented language are 30% more times likely to achieve their goals. Okay. Seek feedback instead of fearing judgment. Now, this depends. It depends on who you're speaking to. So actively seek constructive feedback from trusted colleagues or mentors. Because if you go to the wrong person, they will sabotage and crucify you. But if you go to the right hands, they will provide wonderful feedback and give you opportunities to grow. So keep that in mind. Who are you putting your hands, who are you putting your, hands to the plow with? Next, surround yourself with people with growth-minded people. Okay. Identify one growth-minded person in your network. If you don't have them, it's time to find another network. Mistakes to avoid: isolating yourself or sticking to only people who reinforce a fixed mindset. So Steve Jobs surrounded himself with innovative thinkers. Okay. And Serena Williams, she credits her growth to her family's support and her coach's belief in her potential. And the last thing I'll share here, practice self-compassion, right? When setbacks happen, be kind to yourself. Too many people are already stabbing at you. So be kind to yourself, right? So treat yourself with kindness during setbacks. Acknowledge the difficulty, but remind yourself that mistakes are part of the process, and remind yourself that because you made mistakes, that you're not a mistake. And just because somebody doesn't really vibe with you or gel with you or accept you, that doesn't mean that you're not fabulous. There's a room full of people waiting to hear from you, waiting to have your expertise at the table, that are willing to accept you, that want to love on you. So be good to yourself and ignore the knuckleheads. Okay, so thanks for letting me share that, guys. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to share one more thing, and then we're going to wrap it up, okay? So I found this. Okay, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Here we go.
I've had financial crashes. I've had people stab me in the back, but they're all good because I grow from it. That's spirituality. People who are afraid of making mistakes, like they teach in school, they don't ever grow. Because spirituality is there's good and there's bad. There's right and there's wrong. There's up and there's down. Most people only want to be right. They only want to be positive. Well, you can't have that. That's not reality. I've had financial.
Wow. So he's basically saying, even if you do get stabbed in the back or you have something that happens, don't count it as an end all be all. Just count it as a learning experience. Be grateful. So, I'm glad that he said that to us, that we were able to learn from that. And so with that said, I'll leave you guys with my tips. Whenever you're trying to have, you have grit rebuttals, some things that you could do. For one, keep a positive mindset. Two, ask for another opinion. Sometimes we don't know it all. And sometimes there's people that have been around a little bit longer and they've been around the block and they can, steer you and teach you and show you some things. Three, consider success data around what it is that you're trying to accomplish, or, maybe your back's against the wall on something. Go look at some data and figure out, some tips. 4, go for it anyway. If you're feeling like, I don't know, take a stab at that goal anyway, right? Try anyway. Why not? What do you have to lose? We live one time, only one time on this side of the earth, right? On this side of life, we only live once. So you might as well make the most of it. And then 5, eliminate your doubts, believe in yourself, and go for it. Make your grit move, right? So, guys, thank you so much for allowing me to share this wonderful episode about Grit Rebuttals on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. Again, this Grit and Equity Talks podcast will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph, and you can find it on Spotify. Please give me a follow as well on my social media channels, which are listed there. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at some wonderful events coming up. Please join me at these events. I'll see you guys shortly in LA. Super excited. Can't wait to see you there. Check out my website, www.india-white.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for an event. Check out the Grit Mini Workshop on the Grassroots Workshops website. Send your kids my way for any online tutoring supports that you need. And remember, if you're trying to close the achievement gap, you're having classroom management issues, or your students are motivated to do the work, join me anytime you want here, okay, on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. We'll figure out some solutions together. So with that said, thanks so much, guys, for joining me again on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. And until next time, stay gritty. See ya.